Hi, I'm Dan Mircea Suciu. Welcome to Software Project Management Course Notes, a podcast created based on Agile software development online lectures I deliver to Software Engineering Master Program at the Faculty of Mathematics and Computer Science from Babes-Bolyai University.
To talk about a new concept, called inverted U curve. I have discovered this concept for the first time in a book, in a Malcolm Gladwell's book called David and Goliath. And from the beginning, I found it so interesting that I wanted to learn more about it. So I found that the same concept, like inverted U curve, is also called the Yerkes, if I remember well, is Yerkes-Dodson law in psychology, or Kuznets curve in economy. But these two examples are just particular applications of inverted U curve in some very specific domains. Well, the idea behind the inverted U curve concept is pretty simple. We are consuming every day many resources of different kinds in order to obtain some certain benefits. Imagine having here on this horizontal axis any resource like money or time or even human resources or human effort. And we are usually imagine that there is a linear dependency between resource consumption and the level of benefit we achieve. But it is not exactly the case. Actually, the graph looks like an inverted U, as you can see in this picture, as you can see in this slide. In the beginning, the quantity of resources we are using affect the benefits in a positive way. But there is a sweet spot somewhere there, somewhere here on top of this curve. And after passing this sweet spot, consuming more resources could affect our benefits in a negative way. So let's take an example, like the relationship between wealth and happiness. We used to think naturally, isn't it, that there is a linear dependency between these two. Something like that. Or maybe sometimes we are thinking that to this relationship as having this shape. So what does it mean? That means that there is a point when a wealth growth does not affect happiness too much. But a lot of research in this direction reveals that the curve is not prominent and it looks like an inverted U. So that means that there is a level till which we have a linear connection between wealth and happiness. But after that, a flat curve shows that wealth do not influence happiness too much. And after a certain point, which of course differs from one person to another, any wealth increase will negatively impact happiness. Well, if you don't trust me, if you believe this is not true, it's maybe because you didn't have enough money up to now. I'm in the same situation, but this is the result of those researches. Maybe happiness is a too large concept here, but think to any particular aspect of our life, and we can see that this is true. For instance, parenting. Parenting is very difficult when you are poor, but also very difficult when you are too rich. That's because in the first case, parenting is based on "I don't have" statement, which sometimes could be motivating. We should accept that. But anyway, it's not an ideal situation. But in the second case, it is based on "I don't want" statement. And this could affect the relationship between kids and parents in a negative way. Let's take another example. All of us have some personal strengths. some skills or some talents which are beyond the average. Usually those strengths have a positive impact to our life. Well, this happens till the moment we are exaggerating with them. After passing a certain point, these strengths suddenly become weaknesses, even if we don't realize that thing immediately. Uh, for instance, if you are a good communicator, exaggerating with this, you will be seen as a too talkative person. If you are a rational or analytical person, exaggerating with this, you will be seen as a slow person who never finishes his tasks in time. Or if you are a person who loves challenges, exaggerating in this direction, you will be seen as a person who is too risky or too unsafe to work with, and so on. There are a lot of examples like these ones. Also, there are many other examples where the inverted U curve appears. For instance, both excessive and defective exercise destroys the health and strength. Uh, f- uh, we used to hear many times in professional sports thoughts like, I hope to be in a good shape for tomorrow game, but we don't hear something like, after tomorrow game, I will be healthier, because it's not the case. There is too much effort there, and sometimes this could have, as I said, a negative impact to the health. Similarly, drink or food which is above or below a certain amount destroys the health. So the good news is that research shows that a glass of wine a day, every day, is good for us. It's good for our health. Anyway, too much, more than that, more than one glass per day, could have a negative impact, unfortunately, isn't it? But one glass is very good. Here is another example, and this example comes from education. It is well known that the size of a class could impact the academic achievement in average of that class. And it is custom to think that a class with more than 30 children is very difficult to manage. But at the same time, we are thinking that kids' performance will grow together with reducing the size of the class. And this is true. But the best performance we obtain with classes having between 12 and 17 children, okay, 12 and 17 kids. If we reduce the size more, we will observe that the performance is reducing as well. In such a class, some kids experience isolation or a high level of frustration. And I took this example just because this is somehow different than the others you saw, because here we expect worse results for bigger numbers on horizontal axis and better results for smaller numbers. Anyway, in reality, we have the same inverted U shape. And actually, you can choose almost anything that could be spent to obtain some benefits. If you are spending too less or too much, the benefits will decrease. So we have this shape. But what's the connection with Agile? You may you may ask. Well, there are many practices or rituals or habits we are using in our Agile teams that are governed by the shape of an inverted U. Also, many success factors are influencing the success of software products following an inverted U curve. So the same shape. I would like to mention today just a few of them, like estimation accuracy or performance and quality. And let's start with the estimation. This is one of the well-known quotes that describe the estimation problem in software development. And that's because we are not good at estimating software at all. Even if we are doing it in time or in story points or in complexity points, or we use another technique, estimation in software is difficult. and many consider it impossible and often it is misused. So there is a subtle explanation. First of all, we have this empirical Pareto law. I think you know it very well. And this Pareto law says that we are usually finishing 20% of one task in 80% of the time, and 80% of the task in the last 20% of the available time. And this is usually combined with Parkinson law. This name, Parkinson, doesn't have anything in common with the disease. It's the name of an economist who said that our work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So the work on a task will expand in order to fill the whole time available to complete that task. So when we are implementing something estimated previously, we are feeling very stressed in the last 20% of the time assigned for that task. We will remember this, and next time we are trying to eliminate the stress by increasing the estimation for those tasks which are similar. But due to Parkinson law, we will finish the task filling the available time, but in the end we feel some stress again, and this is like a snow boulder. And we can project this result, and we will obtain a U curve at the end. There are some recent researches showing that too much experience could have a negative impact on time estimation accuracy and even on productivity. And this is a very interesting paradox, and it is more visible when one person is doing almost the same thing during a long period of time. I experienced that when I worked with the same team, with the same people on a project for more than two years. And I realized that they used to do more, let's say, relaxed estimates for the same tasks they were able in the past to finish in a less period of time. That's very interesting, and this happens because of the experience we had. This experience means a lot of things we confronted during implementing those tasks, and when we try to estimate one new task, we think to all those bad things that could happen, but most of them will not. Is not likely to happen, but we take them into account and we increase our estimations. And estimation accuracy is affected also by the effort spent in estimation sessions. Sometimes we realize that if we are spending more time on estimating, the resulting precision of estimation is insignificant. We think that the graph, the shape looks like this one in the picture. But we do not realize that it is more than that. It follows the shape on an inverted U as well. And another interesting aspect is another curve, and is this red one. It is the confidence. It is the confidence of the team members in their estimation. And you can see the discrepancy between the U inverted U curve and this new curve. So we are more confident of our estimations when we spend more time on doing them. But it's not based on the reality. It's just our feeling. It's not the truth. And because all of these impediments, there is a pretty new movement in Agile community talking about no estimates. It is called #NoEstimates. This is the name. And the idea is that if our estimations are always wrong, why to estimate at all? I do not see this as something applicable in all situations, but it brings up a very interesting debate. Do we need estimations in software projects or not? If most of the time, these estimations are wrong. And sometimes we don't need estimations also because other reasons. And here I try to be sarcastic, but this happens a lot. Uh, and yeah, this is sometimes a challenge for us in the teams we work, because the management puts a lot of pressure on our shoulders to keep the deadlines, even if we cannot do this and we are not able to keep those deadlines. But let's talk a little bit about performance again. I know that this is not a big surprise for you, because we all know that we have to be pragmatic when we are talking about time and effort we spend for implementing user stories or other tasks. Otherwise, any extreme case, being superficial, which is on the left side, or being perfectionist, which is on the right side, will have an unwanted impact on the benefits we get from the software we together develop. Also, the complexity of the design or the number of features influences the user satisfaction. And that user satisfaction is influenced in the same way, following an inverted U curve. Uh, the curves, the curve looks maybe slightly different if you are considering the Pareto law again, which says that in this situation, 20% of the functionalities of one software application are used 80% of the time, and 80% of the functionalities are used very rarely, just 20% of the time. Many of them are ignored, are just nice to have features. And honestly, for some of them, for very complex applications, are never used. So they have no influence in user satisfaction. So it's not exactly an inverted view, but it's very similar with that shape. Let's see. Okay, this slide contains the essence of Yerkes-Dodson law. I mentioned it in the beginning of the course from psychology, which says that the motivation and arousal does not have monotonic effects on performance. Uh, Increases motivation, enhance effort, and narrow attention, which improves performance in simple tasks, but impairs performance in complex when we talk about complex tasks. But in average, when we think that we have both complex and simple tasks on our project, the resulting shape is an inverted U shape. And for complex tasks, narrowed attention can be a liability, isn't it? So that's why these two shapes looks different. These were just a few examples of how difficult is sometimes to find the balance, to find the equilibrium in our projects. For instance, we can be in measuring performance in one side of the inverted U curve, and when we measure estimation accuracy, we can be on the other side. But that, of course, doesn't mean that our project is okay in average. It is like saying that if we have one leg in a bucket of ice and the other one in fire, we are actually feeling fine. We are fine. That would be a big mistake. So we cannot treat all these things in this way, doing averages. We have to analyze them individually and to try to handle them. Well, the question is why it is sometimes so difficult to be aware about this non-monotonic behavior, and also why it is so easy to ignore it in real life when we are working on projects. And I tried to answer this question, and I found three main reasons. So from my perspective, there are three main reasons for that. First of all, we used to think in a monotonic way, in a linear way. We know what we have to do in order to improve some aspects, but we forget to stop sometimes. On the other way, we don't use the relevant instruments or relevant techniques or relevant tools of measuring project success, and this could be tricky. And the most surprising reason is our capability to adapt in time to any context. And I will try to take all these answers or all these reasons one by one and to add more details to them. And for proving the first one, I'd like to tell you a story. It is a short and nice story that I've heard from one of my friends, and that story amused me a lot. My friend has a kid. At that time, my friend's kid was 3, and every time before bed, in the evening, he used to play with his toys for a couple of minutes. As you can see in this picture, it's not that kid; it's another picture, but you can relate to it. Well, one evening, my friend let his kid alone in the bathroom in warm water and went to the kitchen. And suddenly he heard his kid screaming, "Make it warmer, make the water warmer." And my friend was afraid that the water became too cold in the meantime, and in 2 seconds was in the bathroom checking the water. Well, he felt that the water was not cold at all. Actually, it was hot. Anyway, he increased a little bit the temperature, but immediately after that, his kid screamed again, but much louder. Make it warmer, make it warmer. And suddenly he realized that his kid tried to tell him to make the water warm, isn't it? But how to do it? By decreasing the temperature because it was too hot. Because for his kid, warm was the sweet spot. It was the comfort zone, and he wanted to be there. But for an adult, there is only one way to make something warmer, isn't it? From left to right, even when it is already too warm. And that's because it just became a habit. But from that kid perspective, it was the opposite way. It was too hot, and we wanted that water to become warm, to be okay. And we are not influenced only by our habits, also the others' habits. That of those people around us look very appealing to us, and we are adopting those habits even if they do not bring any advantage to us. We are just losing time doing not useful things. We don't see any effect, but we do it because we think that those are best practices. Now, a few words on how we measure things. Now you can see that red dot. That red dot could be everywhere on this curve. But usually on our projects, we are not measuring the benefits using a curve. Usually we are using a line. And when we are at a certain level on this line, we do not actually know if on the corresponding inverted U curve, that point is on the right side or on the left side of the sweet spot. And many times we take the wrong decisions just because we used to do something to solve a problem, but we don't know that it was on the other side of the curve. So that's the problem most of the time. We used to do something. It usually worked. It was okay. Now it doesn't work, and we don't know why. And we try to do it more and to do it in a better way, to exaggerate with that thing, and the things go worse and worse.
And close your eyes and just fall down, okay? Don't worry.
Okay, then Lauren's going to catch you.
Close your eyes. Okay.
Okay, it's called the trust fall. Okay, trust fall. Ready, set, go.
Okay, so the idea was that everybody expected that that girl will fall back, but she didn't because she thought at that exercise or at that game in a different way. And we were not able to predict that that will be the way of doing things. Okay, the third and the last reason is, as I said, that the adaptability. Maybe you know already the boiling frog anecdote, which says that in this anecdote, the premise is that if a frog is put suddenly into boiled water, it will jump out. But if we put that frog in cold water, which is then brought to a boil slowly, that frog will not perceive the danger and will be cooked to death, unfortunately. Why that happens? Because the frog adapted to the environment, and that frog did not realize that it became too dangerous. In other words, when we are working on a project, we are feeling that we are in the sweet spot just because the changes on that project are coming too slow. And for us, that inverted U curve becomes very flat, and we just do not see the risks. We don't feel the risks. We cannot identify the risk, and we think that everything goes well till a moment when there is a huge fail, a big fail, and there's no way to return. And this is because of our capabilities to adapt to those situations. But again, it's a context where those changes come too slow, very, very slow, and we cannot perceive that. And at this point, I want to let you with one very, very simple idea. So when the things are going worse on your project, don't try to do better what you already did. So this is one powerful conclusion, I think. You have to stop and think if you are not on the other side of the U curve and try to make water warmer, but in the opposite side.
Thanks for listening to Software Project Management course notes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.